Welcome back to the capital city. Welcome to New Delhi. We are here in the studios of Doordarshan. We hope you enjoyed that wonderful, interesting story that we had from Mumbai. It's been a day that has been very, very exciting, very interesting. We had a lot of brainstorming, a lot of ideas coming up, and still we are not tired. This studio is buzzing with excitement. We have another set of eminent personalities, and it's my absolute pleasure to be joined by my co-anchor, the Florence Griffith Joyner of India, the sprint queen, Ashwini Nachappa. Ashwini, what a pleasure.
Thank you so much for that introduction. Let's introduce our distinguished guests. We have, coming to the end of the conclave, a very important segment.
Pathak sir, I'll start with you. Of course, Rio was a disappointment. After the high of London, 6 we thought would go up at least by 4 or even 6, but it reduced by 4, which was actually a disappointment. And then came the task force almost immediately after that. 2020, 24, 28. What can we expect realistically?
I've been around 24 states already, where I have met every single stakeholder in that particular state on their home ground. And my take is that India does not lack talent. There's plenty of it strewn around. It's just a question of creating a very good and a sound model of governance. It's very important to create a kind of a unified structure instead of people working in silos, one not knowing what the other is doing. We need to create an interconnected environment. We need to create a larger pool. So we have two major things that we could be looking at. One is, of course, building a pipeline of talented athletes who will eventually become elite athletes, and two, a very specialized and a very focused program for the elite athletes. Now these two need very different and two very separate kind of treatments. And I am of the view, having been around, that India is probably sitting on a gold mine. We could really take medals for the asking only if we do things the right way. And given the Prime Minister's vision and the vision that's been articulated by other leading sportspersons such as you also, Ashwini, India can, we have 3 years to go before 2020, and I do think that we can create conditions wherein we can really outstrip any imagination of models.
Ashwini,
I won't put a number to it though.
You'll be able to throw some light on this, wherein we've had policies, we have had initiatives, but there seem to be some bottlenecks. If you could actually throw some light on that.
Well, there has been bottlenecks in every step. It's not just about sports, and I've always said there is more politics in sports than in politics, because that's the environment we've all come up through. But with the current Prime Minister, who's absolutely a visionary, because it's the first time that, if you see even in the Rio Games, the treatment that was met with every sports star, whether they win medal or not, the kind of care that was taken, the kind of investment that was given, was never seen before.
Absolutely.
So that's a good step. But do we have a structure in place to really raise the bar? Because if you talk about 2008, from Beijing to London, we were 50th rank in Beijing. Then we invested more, we became 55th in London. We invested even more and we came 67th at Rio. So is the task force actually thinking of doing a drastic change with a clean slate so that we start new for a new India? Is that in the pipeline?
We often talk about these things. Of course, every other day you hear that, unfortunately, when what we are seeing is you take a step forward, you take 2 or 3 back. But to stretch this point, sometimes what we see is, as you said, is a gold mine that we have. We often don't dream enough, or there is a self-belief issue that we often see. As a sports aficionado, I remember 88, 92, we went medalless. We thought, I was thinking, could we ever win a medal? But then that was changing with Beijing and London. But the self-belief factor, what can we do to overcome this issue?
Well, at the school level, being a school principal, I'll talk about the school level, the basics. I think we need to do a lot more. And we need to believe in sports ourselves a lot more, as principals, as teachers, everyone, the parents, everyone associated with the schools. I would like to briefly quote, the Battle of Waterloo was won on the playfields of Eton and Harrow. So how much it's ascribed, how much you subscribe to the sports, how much is the importance you must relate to it is well defined in that. That it is not just the sport that you're playing, it prepares you for the life, the kind of personality that you build in. There are two levels I would like to briefly talk about. One is the sports being intrinsically good in themselves.
Yeah.
When you are playing a sport and playing it well, playing it fair on a level playing field, you learn a lot, and it stays with you through the life. It gets into your instincts, how you would react. Might be you become a senior officer, need not essentially become a sportsman. That's another thing which I would talk about a little later. If you don't get into sports, let's say you get into any field, get into administration, and you have been a sportsman, I'm sure you will always take correct decisions. Before thinking between the right and the wrong, you would always choose right, because that's the sporting spirit.